Today on Photo Kitchen, I'd like to file a formal complaint against Capture One. Hello and welcome to episode number 55 of Photo Kitchen. I'm your humble host, MD Welch, and today I'm doing something that I really never enjoy doing. And I rarely, if ever, do a video on it, and that is complaining about something. I try to approach life and this channel with a level of positivity, a level of trying to make things better, but I've had all I could stand. I can't stand no more, according to the 20th century philosopher Popeye. And I'm specifically talking about Capture One. Now, I want to be clear about something. I am doing this in hopes that this video gets enough traction that somebody at Capture One sees this and tries to fix this particular issue that I have with their program. I'm not kidding. I really want somebody at Capture One to watch this video in hopes that they fix this. I'm getting emails now, as I get every now and then, that there's a new update coming. I'm always excited about that. I'm always excited for the updates, and I always hope that Capture One fixes this. It's time for me to stop hoping, and it's time for me to start to do something about it. So that's why I'm recording this video. I like Capture One. It's my preferred program, but this particular feature is infuriating and causes me a lot of headache. And that is a total lack of auto sync or auto development inside of Capture One. And also the same is true with metadata. Now, if you don't know what I'm referring to, if you've been using Capture One for a while and you don't know this crazy thing that I'm talking about with auto sync, let me introduce you to Lightroom Classic. Lightroom Classic has had auto sync as a feature since version 1.0. Now, I want to stress, auto sync is not a AI make all the photos look the same. It's not really that. This is back in the day when auto meant it's automatically going to do something for you, not automatically reconstruct a photo. Now, I have a series of images here, and I'll go ahead and just select them all. They were all selected before, but I'll just select them again. And in Lightroom Classic, you have your library panel and your develop module, or your develop module and your library module. Library module is where you do all your metadata work, ratings, that kind of thing. You can see all of your images. And development is where you develop your images, brighter, darker, black and white, so forth and so on. Now, Lightroom splits them up, but that's just fine. At the bottom right-hand corner of both modules, there's a button that usually says sync or auto sync. Now, in a weird, Adobe also is bad at program design as well. There's this little switch next to the word auto sync that if you click on it, will toggle between the word sync and auto sync. Now, to enable auto sync, you need to have that switch clicked so it says auto sync, and you have to do it for both modules. You have to do it for library and you have to do it to develop, or you could do it for one or the other. It kind of depends on what you're doing here. But the logic, once you have this turned on, is pretty straightforward. Let's say I'm in the library module here and I want all of these images to be 5 stars. I hit the number 5, I get 5 stars. That is kind of true of Capture One. But then if I would say I want these all to be a color label rating of red, or set to red, that doesn't happen in Capture One. And I'll go back and I'll show that in a second. So I have auto sync turned on. No matter what I do to one image, the rest of the images, no matter the quantity of them, also change. Maybe I come in and I want the title changed. I'll come into here and I'll call this House Fire and hit enter or return. And guess what? All of the images, all of the metadata now has the exact same information. They're all labeled red. They're all 5 stars. They all have a title of House Fire. I didn't have to do anything other than just do it for one image that automatically carried out. Go to the develop module. It will only show me one image, or the active image that I have here. Capture One does show you multiple images, which kudos to Capture One. But now I'll come in and say, well, I want the exposure to be a little bit brighter, and I want the saturation to be a little bit higher. And I'm going to, well, maybe I want to take care of noise here, and I'll do this the old-fashioned way, or sharpening. And let's just go ahead and do a little bit of sharpening and do a little bit of change here. Okay, that's fine. Come back into library and look at that. All of the images have been changed. I didn't have to do anything else. And the beauty of this is, with all of these images selected, if all of a sudden I wanted to undo something or reset that with all of them selected, I could go ahead and do that. And I can level them out. And if I have images, let's go back to library and deselect a few of these and select a few of these. So let's say for this image, actually, let's go to this image. Let's say this image is way too bright. Go into develop here. And I'm going to come in and I'm just going to knock down the exposure back to where it was. right? And then later on, I come into the library module as I go back to thumbnails, a little bit out of practice here, and I select an image here that is much brighter. When I go into develop, what's interesting is that it will show me the changes here. And if I come into here and do a difference, it will also do it to the other image. So whatever I do, no matter what the setting is, if they're different between the two images, it matches them up automatically because that's the way we think. That's the way that we process information. That's the way so many other programs work, okay? So what happens in Capture One? Why am I so angry? Why am I recording this video? Because this is what happens here. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna select a series of images here. And I do have this thing called Edit Selected applied here, this little multiple squares with the orange here. This needs to be turned on for a lot of things to happen to multiple images. And again, this is where some of the weirdness happens because for as powerful as Capture One is, these simple things seem to not exist. If I hit export here and I don't have edit selected, let's just do export, I will get a question saying, hey, you have multiple images selected. Do you just want to export the one that you have selected or do you want to do all of them? Well, I've selected all of them. The logic should be you should lean to the side of I've selected all of them, therefore I should want to do something to all of them. Capture One doesn't behave that way. I don't know why, but it doesn't. There's probably a very good reason, and to the Capture One engineers who are hopefully watching this, I hope there is, and I apologize if there is a logic behind this, but it just doesn't work out in the real world. If I hit edit selected and I do an export, it will export out all the images without a dialog warning. That's about where a lot of things change. Sure, I could come into here and do a 1 star and they will all 1 star out. That's fine. I could undo that. They will reset. But I cannot do a color label change. If I come into here and change this to blue, all of the images stay with the same color label. So weirdly, star ratings work, color labels do not. Here begins the inconsistency problem as well. Not only do they not automatically update, some things do automatically apply to multiple images, some do not. There's no rhyme or reason for this. And the downside of this is you have to learn what does and doesn't automatically update. Let's go to metadata. If I come into metadata and I said, okay, the category here is forest, right? And I apply this. So I go ahead and apply this to forest. Guess what? It doesn't apply to the other images. I click on another image here, switch from this image being the primary variant to this being the primary variant instead of active image. And you'll see that forest disappears. Now, each panel inside of Capture One, which is a cool feature, has this little double set of arrows here where you can click on this and see all of the settings here and then apply it, meaning that I would get blue and forest apply to all of these. But maybe I don't want the color label, so I'd have to come in and uncheck this, right? So I now, not only do I not get an automatic application, but when I try to do a copy and paste, I got to be careful of what I'm copying and pasting, right? Or copying and applying. I have accidentally not paid attention to those check marks, and you cannot imagine how much time I have lost, how much productivity has gone out the window because of this, right? And now you can start to hear the frustration in my voice. This is a very big deal. So by the way, you can also hold down the shift key and click on these double arrows here, and that will auto apply, which would be terrible for this thing because everything would become blue, everything would become 4 stars, and you can see there's a lot of different color labeling here, right? Also, these arrows here apply only to the panels. There is a way to do all the settings, which is a feature called copy and apply. There's also an individual copy and apply arrow, and I'll be honest with you, those really don't work very well. But copy and apply, when you click on it, will give you all of your development settings. It does give you some metadata information as well, but sometimes it doesn't give you all of the metadata information, so you have to be aware of that. But you can do a copy and apply to everything here, and you, of course, could hold down the shift key and automatically do this. But again, you're applying everything across the board. And if you don't like a certain thing, you have to uncheck this because you're doing it after the fact. By the way, just like with stars and labels, while metadata has to be synced using this arrow after the fact, keywords happen in real time. So if I come into here and I type in, let's say forest location, right? And I hit enter or return, it applies it to that image, and then it applies it to that image. It auto-syncs the keywords, but it doesn't auto-sync the metadata. It auto-syncs stars, but it doesn't auto-sync the color labels. And by the way, if you haven't guessed, it does not do any development settings here. So if I wanted these to all be black and white, I'll check black and white here, and you'll see only one image becomes black and white. I mean, while I can actually see these images, if I wanted just a few of them here, I could see these images in a better editing mode, I cannot actually auto sync all of these across. So if I wanted to do this, each panel has black and white, I could do that, or I could copy and apply and sync everything up that way. But I still have to do those absolute extra steps. What's even crazier is if I go into styles and I apply, say, a style here, even the preview auto applies. So obviously it's not like it's a technology issue. Capture One can automatically do an auto sync or an auto apply. They just choose not to. And I have combed the internet. I have looked through YouTube. I've talked to people. I have talked to actual gurus of Capture One. I'd like to think I'm one of them, but even when I was starting off, because it was so frustrating because I was used to Lightroom Classic. And I could not find a way to do what I do in Lightroom Classic inside of Capture One, and I still can't. So please, to the people of Capture One, you have an amazing program, but it is costing me time. And I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one with lost time and lost productivity and frustration. And it's 3 a.m. and I've accidentally clicked on the wrong double arrow and I did or did not hold down the shift key. And now I got to go back and undo or redo things, or I got to hope I caught it in time. There are jobs that I would save considerable amount of time if everything that I'm able to do in Lightroom Classic when it comes to auto syncing would happen inside of Capture One. Please, Capture One, give me that time. Give me that productivity. Normally, this is where I would say, hey, thanks for watching this video. Hope you made it all the way through. Hit like, hit subscribe, share with your friends. And by all means, I would love for you to do that. But what I would love even more is for you, especially if you're a Capture One user, to write Capture One, maybe send them the link to this video as well, and ask for a true auto sync. It is time. We want that feature. We need that feature. Let this program kind of be complete. And let's rejoice at it. So until next time, this is MD Welch wishing you all the best from Photo Kitchen and wishing Capture One gives me auto sync. Take care. All the best.